Okay. So thank you to Widow Bryans for inviting me here today. And what I want to do is show you an application that we've developed over the past year. It's called Ocean Guardian, and kind of give you some background as to its functionality and what we're looking for in the long term, which is beyond a compliance tool, but really a collaborative platform for we as an industry to work together to put our heads around all of the environmental regulations that are out there. So I'm going to start with the user interface and then give you an overview as to some of the other layers that are driving the information you see here. So this is a user interface that is installed on board ships, right? And it's installed in a client server platform. So we put a server on board the vessel, or we install Ocean Guardian on board one of the vessel servers. And then we can have 5 concurrent users accessing the information at the same time. And taking a feed from the vessel's GPS system, this is what you have here. So I'm just going to walk around the user interface in clockwise order. This is a simulation of a ship sailing in the Caribbean. So what we have here is the ship is sailing. She's between the 25 and 50 nautical miles. So Ocean Guardian's database takes all of the environmental regulations, and using what we call layers, we take the vessel's GPS feed and we tell you exactly what applies environmentally, exactly where the ship is. And because so many regulations are based on distance from shore, right, or country's baseline, that's where we have these layers. So we have layers of baseline to 3 or baseline to 4 for some of the cruise clients, then 3 to 12, 12 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, and then high seas. So again, using the simulation, the ship is just off the coast of Nicaragua between the 25 and 50 nautical mile zone. These are the regulations that apply. We're going to come to those in just a few minutes. These are the zones that she's approaching, and it gives you, based on her current position, the distance in nautical mile, and based on the ship's speed over ground, which is quite fast, the ETA, okay? When we come over to this right-hand side where all these regulations are, this is the detailed view, and it gives you international, national, regional, port, and company regulations are part of the database as well. When we started the beta test on board some ships, the clients have said, okay, this is great, but it's a lot of information, so just simplify it for me and tell me what I can do and what I can't do. And with these simplified views, you have global listed here. So global is international, national, regional, or port. And then you have a column for company regulations. And based on where the ship is, I click down here, and I get a brief overview of what regulation is driving that international no-go or not permitted. I can click on here, and I can launch the PDF copies of those regulations that are driving that specific no-go. You get a PDF copy of it. And I'll say, while we're on this screen, all of the regulations that are in Ocean Guardian are vetted by a third-party law firm in Washington, D.C. So anything that is in Ocean Guardian's regulations database is being vetted by a third party. And we've also asked them to vet not only what we put in Ocean Guardian, but what they see is obviously missing as well. Because again, I'm going to keep speaking back to that collaborative platform. There's no way for us to know if our regulations database is 100% complete, because none of us know what 100% complete comprises of. So we take information, we upload it into Ocean Guardian, we get it vetted, and then we deploy it, okay? So I'm going to close out. Before I close out of here, you also have this horn listed here. And this horn is, again, this is, if you could imagine this being used on board a ship or used in a fleet operations command center, right? So this horn, if you listed here, is you can say, I have a question on this reg. And when they hit submit, that comes directly to an email address, if it's a global regulation, to our office for research, review, and response. If it's a company regulation, it would be sent to the appropriate person within the organization. Okay? Just taking this again around clockwise. Ocean Guardian can also send signals out to a relay system and can control internal valves or the start and stops of pumps. Okay? We would never allow it to, it can theoretically, but we would never allow it to control a final discharge overboard. But for example, our company represents a company called Marine Flock in Sweden. We have a number of white boxes out on board ships. In the white box is an internal three-way valve that in the white box controls the discharge of treated bilge water. So the Ocean Guardian can send a signal to that white box control panel and be one additional component as to whether that valve opens or closes. Okay? You can do the same for sewage. The relay can also send it to your automation system, so simply keep track of your environmental operations on board. Just going back around, this question mark is where you find the manual. We also can activate, deactivate licenses. You know the versions that you're running. If it's installed on board a bridge, you have a dimming switch here for bridge operations. And again, because Ocean Guardian is a client-server platform, we take advantage of a lot of APIs. So we can take tracks from your vessel operations planning, bring them into Ocean Guardian, and they can see on their exact path, on their exact route, with which regulations apply. Again, we're taking a feed from the vessel's GPS system here. This depicts the zones that I mentioned earlier. Here you have a ruler. Let me make this a little bit smaller and make sure I'm north facing. So with this ruler, you can take the ship, you can take Ocean Guardian off live, if you will, and put your pointer anywhere, and the regulations for that specific area will show up. Okay? You can zoom out, if you will, and go anywhere in the world and see what we have in Ocean Guardian for that specific location. Use it for voyage planning, if you will. Okay, so that's the user interface. And what I want to show you now is what we call the rules portal, where all the regulations are uploaded, edited, and vetted. Okay? So this is what we have a team in our office doing every single day. So let me just make that a little bit bigger. So as you saw on the detailed view, there were 8 blocks over to the right, and those are the 6 annexes of MARPOL plus ballast water and other. So if we look here, let's say into garbage, these are the international regulations that are in Ocean Guardian today. And today in Ocean Guardian, at the international, national, regional, and port level, there's 1,687 vetted regulations that are deployed out to our users. There's the large number of them, and I can show you here. If I want to see how many are out there that are waiting to be vetted, this is the one associate we have doing the most. I can sit and see Stefano's has another 217 to be vetted. So when there's also, I'll show you a little bit more. Well, let me show you that now. So on the, in the regulations, nothing is deployed in Ocean Guardian until it's been vetted, okay? When we go here, let's say to garbage, and we pick up this regulation for the Great Lakes, every single rule has its own unique identifier. This rule name here is the short description you see here in the detailed view. So that's what you see here. This longer description is what appears when we launch the regulation. You have the rule status, you have its detailed category and simplified category, you have a designation as to whether it's controlled or in use, a relay is in use, controlling a valve. There are ships profiles in there, as not only type, but tonnage, We have flag state profiles. These are the attachments that our group pulls up or uploads into Ocean Guardian in the assigned zones. And as you saw in the UI, so we have, of course, the baselines, and I should say that our maps are generated by a company in Virginia that for years has produced maps for our government and a couple other ones which map out the country's claimed baselines, whether they're disputed or not. So we've employed them, we've contracted with them. We get those global marine baseline database and we make it a global marine MARPOL database. So they've also mapped out special areas, emission control areas, the particularly sensitive sea areas, national marine sanctuaries, and the polar region. While I'm in the user interface, before I go back to the portal, we also have taken the World Port Index and all 3,000 plus ports we've uploaded into Ocean Guardian as well. So I'm just going to stick to an area that I know well. So if I come out of Ocean Guardian Live, I just might put my pointer anywhere. Here are the points. Here are the ports that are within that proximity, which the ports in proximity we've set at 90 nautical miles based on where the location is. It can be configured to whatever the client wishes. And again here, if you double click on the port, you get some preliminary port information. You can also have attachments to the port. So going back to ballast water, if you have to keep attachments of any time that you've used public water services, you could attach those in the company section of Ocean Guardian. And you would do that in this portal here. We have an advanced search feature, which I really like and use very often. We were sitting in a chamber of shipping meeting, and they were talking about sediment of ballast water, and I wanted to know, do we have anything about ballast water sediment in Ocean Guardian? So I just did that search. And you can see that there's 27 vetted regulations related to sediment ballast water. Okay. Showing the port section of it. So again, where we're managing the port information. We put in, I believe I heard your drill is based on the entry into the Port of Galveston. So you'll have some general port information, any regulation where Galveston or that specific port is, it applies to will be listed here. Okay, and then we're also bringing on some full-time resources to start filling out this information related to port reception facilities, what type of services are available, if there's fresh water available in the port, can you offload garbage, okay, sludge and bilge, can you offload your black and gray water hazardous. But again, going down here, when you go into the company section of it, in this particular Port of Galvin does it, well, it does have an attachment. This is where those attachments would be stored. And again, those attachments, once they're uploaded, would then be deployed to the server on board the vessel, and your personnel on board the ships would have immediate access to them. Okay. One of the things as well, I'm going to go to the UAT because we don't have the port review submitted, but when I used that horn a few minutes ago and I hit submit, it also gets included here into Ocean Guardian. So this is that statement that I just put on. So all of it continually ties back to the portal and dispatches back out to the user interface. And I think, no, here it is. So I just want to leave that up there for a few minutes because I know I've been just flying around it. And again here, not only would you have the company regulation, so this would be this is just a demo. So this is where you would put your company document if you had it. And then you would also have access to the international regulation that's driving that allowed with caution. Any immediate questions or comments before I look to see if there's anything else in the portal to show? Yes, sir. It is encrypted. And as far as the database is concerned, or as far as the rules database? Yes, it has the same security measures because we use the company that has developed this for us, and let me just put this up here so you can see the name of the company. Brennock develops a number of applications for banks, and they do a number of marine personnel platforms as well. So they have all the security measures in place for us as far as the security is concerned. Any other questions or comments on it, Douglas? Mm-hmm. One of the questions that I was asked, I'll use this one. I was asked by one client when we were deploying it, if we had actually let me put national as well, if we had the clean hull requirements, let's say for coming into New Zealand. So it does, it takes in all of the environmental regulations and not just pollution prevention. It's what can you do and what can't you do. Absolutely. Let's see. There's something related to, well, it's going to use whatever MOTH is in there. And what is it? Egyptian? Asian, sorry. Let's see, gypsy. If it doesn't, it will by this week's end, as long as we can find it. So, not as yet, but I'll get on the phone with Val and I'll show you. But that ties back to, because even sitting here this morning, we have it deployed on a number of ships, and we get feedback saying we couldn't find this. And either it hasn't been deployed because it hasn't been vetted, or it was missing. So we asked the client to send us the PDF copy or the reference, and we'll find that PDF copy. It'll be uploaded, vetted, and then deployed. So, and that's what we're really striving for, is not simply the use and, you know, the commissioning and installation of Ocean Guardian on board the ships, but used as an industry-wide platform to help plug all of those holes and hopefully put everything under one hood. And that's why we become associate members as a supplier whenever we have the chance to, for Chamber of Shipping and Intertanko and BIMCO, so that we have access to the type of conversations that are taking place like here, and see where do our holes exist and how quickly can we plug them. Because just like safety and security, you know, environmental protection and environmental compliance is nothing proprietary. So it really makes sense to get all the stakeholders on board and help develop the system that really makes it easier, especially for the personnel on board. So one of the things, and again, all under this portal here. So this is where it's all updated. And once things become OG ready, or Ocean Guardian ready, we're able to sit and package up rule deployments. They go out to the vessels and sit there until the time is right, you know, whether it be internet access or the best time for that internet access and download to take it, and then it deploys it to the clients on board. So, and I don't have any, we've mocked it up, but one of the other things that we'll have in place, I don't have anything to show you in the UI, but there will be a voyage, an environmental operations planning module to it, where you'll be able to switch to that module. Again, take the route that's been planned by the bridge officers, bring it into Ocean Guardian, and be able to see, even on an hour-by-hour basis, what environmental regulations apply based on the ship's location using her average speed over ground.